Welcome everyone to this week's Tim Talk. I am your host, Tim Cox, and we are so excited. Today we get to give away stuff, so I'm pretty fired up. We had the privilege, our guest again, to recap and to give you more amazing information is MARGARET LINVILLE from the Transcend Creative Group. MARGARET in her career has worked with amazing companies, client experience for Nordstrom and for many OEM brands as far as creating that customer experience. Do not forget, you want to stay tuned to the end of Tim Talks today. In less than 30 minutes, we are going to be giving away. We've already picked the winner. It's not handpicked or we don't whisper in each other's ear. We absolutely, audit us. We've had over 600 of you. Thank you. Over 600 of you have signed up, registered to win the luxury weekend at a luxury hotel, and we have randomly picked the winner, and we are going to announce that. So I am so excited. Plus, on top of that, in the spirit of Santa Claus, as Christmas is only a couple months away, we're going to be giving away some more things at the end of Tim Talks that we're going to announce. Holly-Ann just speaking to my ear in case I ADD out and I forget to mention it. So with that, MARGARET, thank you so much for joining us again. And you called me, or excuse me, we had a chance, didn't talk, but we talked via Zoom yesterday about the book that you had just read that made an impact on your life. As we talk about change, as we talk about creating that customer experience, and as we talk about leadership, all boiled into one. So with that, would you just give everyone the title of the book, and then we'll start unpacking what they could do to look. And I always say this. I always say, I don't care what your job is. Obviously, this is heavy automotive, but I mean, to be a better parent, to be a better girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever you are, it starts from the inside out. Before you work on your vocation, if you work on the inside, I mean, what you do when you restore a car, to absolutely restore a car to its better than new beauty, you do a frame off restoration, which means taking all the junk off. So we're going to be talking about several of those things today. And again, pretty long introduction, but I'm fired up because I'm giving stuff away. I felt like Oprah, you get a car and you get a car. We're not giving away cars, but MARGARET LINVILLE, thank you so much for joining us on Tim Talks. Yet again, we are so honored and privileged to have you. Welcome to Tim Talks. Hey, listen, what do you got for us today?
Well, thank you, Tim, for that amazing introduction. Thank you for having me back. And you know what? You are 100% right when you said this book really changed my life and changed my thinking. So it is called The Catalyst. You saw the beautiful yellow cover at the beginning of this. I was listening to it on my phone, and I love to do that while I'm driving. It, as you say, fills me up, pour that love in and get that knowledge out. Yeah. But I had to buy a copy of the book because it was so amazing. And like you said, it's not just about automotive. It's about being a better person in general. But anyone who's listening to us right now, no matter what they do at the dealership level or whatever they do in automotive, can learn something from this. It's so easy to relate to. And I was amazed that because it's not about automotive, everything relates back to what we do. So I call it a win. It's a beautiful cover, isn't it too? And I just got fired up to talk about it because I think when we were chatting before, anyone can agree that client experience is important, right? But it's how do you implement it? How do you make a case for change? And how do you actually take the things you want to do to impact the client experience and execute them? And this book, The Catalyst, talks about how to do that, talks about, I think the subtitle is How to Change Anyone's Mind. And as you and I talked yesterday, that includes changing our own mind as well. So I'm excited to, as you say, Tim, unpack this with you today because there's lots of good nuggets inside. I am not a paid spokesperson for this book, by the way. And everything I say are not my words. They belong to Jonah Berger. He's awesome.
And speaking of which, we're going to talk about that. Well, I'll save that announcement for just a little bit. But some of the things that we talked about yesterday that are true in the car business, no now COVID back in March has forced the hands of a lot of GMs and a lot of dealer principals and others in marketing to fast forward on obviously online. And this isn't a talk today about digital retailing, but it is experience, as David Kane and Glenn Pash said in past Tim Talks. Experience is the new brand, and creating that experience. So Margaret, you have worked for probably, arguably, in my opinion, the best shopping experience. You worked, so Nordstrom hired you, and you were in charge in a lot of cases of that customer experience. So let's talk about Nordstrom. Let me just park for just a second. I'm going to get back to the book, but let's talk about some of those things. The thing that stands out with Nordstrom, I know that I'm going to pay a little bit more for those shoes, although Nordstrom has sales occasionally, but I know I'm going to pay more for that going in. But I know if anything happens, they're going to take care of me. I know that I can keep something for a year and bring it back. Now, listen, we can't keep automobiles for a year. I already know that. So GMs, as you're gasping for breath, no, I know that. But creating that type of experience, give us a little insight on the Nordstrom experience.
You know what? It's interesting that you said that too, because, we're in such interesting times, the pandemic changing our shopping habits, our shopping behaviors. And I worked for Nordstrom during 2007 and 2008. So you can only imagine how that time in our lives also changed our shopping behaviors and how we were interacting with people. But I think the magic of Nordstrom and that Nordstrom experience that we go after is that relationship of loyalty and trust. The products that Nordstrom sells, 100% other retailers sell those exact same products. It's how you feel when you shop. It's how you interact with the brand. It's that consistency also, right? So a Nordstrom experience should be a Nordstrom experience. The way they answer the phone, the way they greet you when you walk in, the ease of their website, that omni-channel experience that everyone is going after. Nordstrom really pioneered that in the sense of it should always feel like a Nordstrom experience, because again, the product, you can find it somewhere else, but you can't find those relationships and those personal experiences other places. And that's, I think, the magic that helps retailers like Nordstrom withstand 2007, 2008 and grow, right? To have the same sort of loyal clients now that they had before. And I think, again, all those things translate so well to automotive, which is why when I was working for Nordstrom and I was approached by someone who worked for Transcend Creative Group and said, you should probably come do this. And what they meant by this is training in the automotive space. There was so many connections between the two entities. It's funny because I don't know if I've ever told you the story. The very first interview I had, someone asked me, so how is what you do at Nordstrom like what we do in automotive? I mean, what a broad interview question. And you're the interviewee and you're nervous and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I say? And I honestly said what could have been the smartest or the silliest thing ever. I simply said, people shop with people. That you need someone to guide you through the process at Nordstrom, just like you need someone to guide you through the process at a dealership. And luckily they did not think it was the silliest thing I ever said. And here I am 8 years later, still doing work in the automotive space, but it has to be a people-driven experience. And that's why I talk so much about client experience and luxury. And when I say luxury, I don't necessarily mean the price of the automotive the automobile that you're selling. The price point doesn't matter. It's the experience that you're offering. You could be buying the least expensive vehicle they have. You could be buying the most expensive vehicle they have. What is the dealership doing to create that experience for you? And hopefully later on, that loyalty and trust that you can have with them. And that's exactly what Nordstrom's trying to do. Because like in automotive, Nordstrom has a lot of competition. So what is going to differentiate them from other people?
Yes, and I know we have a lot of GMs right now listening and a lot of people in the automotive space. Look, the thing that stands out to me, and we dealt with this, I've talked about it before, which is what allowed us or gave me the thought to give away the weekend experience in the luxury hotel. It's easy. Take Toyota, for example. There's a lot in Florida. There's a lot of Toyota dealerships in Florida. within miles of each other. I mean, just a few miles. So what are you going to do? And how are you going to out experience the person that's shopping on your site, jumping off of your site and jumping onto another one? So and we've said all that before. I don't want to be redundant. I want to give people fresh wind, fresh fire as we talk today. Share with our listeners some of the things, why you're so fired up about. Give us a few bullet points. If you see me looking down, just like last week with Sean Stapleton, my pen is here and I took pages of notes. If you see me looking down, I'm actually taking notes because I want to learn. I want to get better every single week. So, but what are some things that stood out to you from the book, The Catalyst?
You know, it's funny that you asked that Nordstrom question because it's a perfect segue. One of the Nordstrom brothers used to always say this. He would say, no one remembers a mediocre moment.
Wow.
No one remembers.
Say that again. Say that again. No one remembers, because I'm writing that one down. A mediocre moment. No one remembers a mediocre moment. Love it.
And when you walk into a Nordstrom store, or in our discussion here, an automotive dealership or a service department, you know, it's not just sales, it's also service. I always say that it has to be both, right? And you have an interaction with a human being that leaves you like, whatever, mediocre, that was fine. It was they weren't mean to me. You know, I don't want to complain about what just happened. That does not catalyze change. That doesn't do anything for anyone. That's, you know, checking a box. I dropped my car for service. He took my keys. He was polite. I left. Or I sat in a, you know, waiting room with decent coffee. Mediocre moments aren't helping anyone. And I'm going to look down too, because I have my notes right here. And it says that terrible things get replaced, but mediocre things stick around. That's a direct quote from the book. Terrible things get replaced, but mediocre things stick around. There's a lot of things in automotive that we're like, this is bad. We have to change it. And I'm sure everyone listening to us right now knows or can think of a process or something in their dealership that they're like, yeah, got to stop this. It's got to go. But the question is, what are we doing with those mediocre things that we just shrug and we're like, it's okay. We're selling cars. We're making money. It's fine. No one's written a bad review. No one's complained. But the idea is that mediocre moment is never going to get us where we want to be. One of the things you and I, Tim, talked about yesterday, probably my favorite quote from The Catalyst, is this idea of surface the cost of inaction. Surface the cost of inaction. What is the risk of doing nothing?
I have that written down on my end from our talks yesterday. I want to park there for a second, because now, listen, we've said it a zillion times. I'm looking at the multitude of people that are logged into Tim Talks right now. And a lot of you guys and gals are some of you log in every single week. So we want to give you new stuff, but you're thinking about it. I've said it before. March, the sky's falling. April, May, June, record months all over the country. July, August, oh my gosh, we're running out of inventory. But it's a different kind of concern. So therefore, selling a car, we've said in the car business, my mental capacity before, my spiritual being was where it is now, rose and fell on how many cars with my family when I got home. Rose and fell depending on how many cars we sold that day. Right? And sometimes when selling cars changes everything. When you're crushing it, Mr. General Manager, when you're killing it, a lot of things get swept under the rug before reviewing. Look, listen, we talk about Bill Belichick all the time. Obviously Brady's not there anymore, but when you're killing people in a dynasty like that, there's a reason they're a dynasty. There's a reason they win so many games, because he's one of the hardest coaches in the NFL, because he inspects everything. He watches more tape than everybody. I understand we won by 14, but we should have won by 28 because we missed that block. We missed that tackle. So the GMs, the people, just in life, man, I should have handled that conversation different. I should have talked to that salesperson when he came into my office. I should have been more thoughtful. I should have loved on him more. I should have encouraged him more. I should have asked him what he wanted to do in 5 years and how I could serve him to get there. Those types of questions. Listen, sorry I went off on a rant and started preaching, but man, I'm telling you that those things right now, even though business is great, again, inventories are down. We're trying to think about creative ways to get more inventory until the the trucks start coming again. But those things, when you inspect what's going on with the experience that your customers, if you continue to try to raise the bar with that experience, your grosses are going to go up and you're going to sell more cars, because those people, listen, when someone has an amazing experience, I've said it on this show, dealer drove from Tampa, Florida, met me all the way almost in Atlanta, Georgia to deliver my new Jeep Rubicon to me. So I've talked about that no less than half a dozen times. So unpacking that kind of stuff, guys, is so important. And then inspecting, say that again, because I want them to write it down if in fact they didn't. What's going to happen basically if they don't? I think I've surfaced the cost of inaction. What's it going to cost you in 3 months for not acting now? Surface the cost of inaction. What is the risk of doing nothing? Man, I love that. I love that. That's good.
Yeah. One of the things he goes on to say is sometimes inaction needs to be taken off the table, or at least no longer subsidized. Because I think we give ourselves an out, right? Well, we can just do it the old way. We don't have to change. The old way's fine. The new way might be good, but we don't know, right? So when you take that inaction off the table, like there is no going back. We can't do it that way anymore. And that sounds a little harsh. It's not like we're going to, rule with an iron fist and say, no more doing it that way. But essentially we have to make it not an option. This is the new way we do things. This is the experience we provide. These are the priorities we have. And we know by doing some scary, new, uncertain things that might, precipitate a little bit of stress, like, oh, I'm not comfortable doing it this way, but we have to give them that empowerment to say, if you do it this way, the same results you had before or better results would come. I think what people focus on is the status quo, right? It's working for me. I'm selling 20 cars a month. It's fine. But like you said, I'm not even a football fan. Should I say that during football season? But the best coach is like, we did okay, but we could do better. There's always room for improvement. And if we're not actually like surgically going in there and seeing what are things we've never even thought about doing that we could easily try, and doing those things, just sitting back and doing nothing, the cost of inaction, if we really focus on it, is probably bigger than we think. So the status quo isn't good enough is really one of the messages. And it sounds like Bill Belichick is a coach that coaches from that perspective. Sure, we're fine. Look at all the rings I've got to prove it. Look at all the championships. Look at all the fans. That's not enough, right? And that sounds like a big challenge, but the best organizations go out there, and that's what this book is talking about, and try things they've never tried before, and really just take that idea that doing nothing is no longer an option and run with it. Because if you don't have anything to fall back on and you just have to move forward and try something new, probably what you're going to try is going to find you even greater success than before. You just have to take that risk, which can be difficult. But if this isn't a time to take a risk, I don't know what is, right? Nothing is certain in the world right now. So yeah, pull off the Band-Aid, right?
You made another note. I've got a couple notes here that we wrote in our pre-talk. Removing roadblocks and lowering barriers that keep people from taking action. Removing roadblocks and lowering the barriers that keep people from taking action. Can you speak on what, where your mind went there and reading that in the book?
What's interesting, and the way I think about it is pretty much the way the author thinks about it. There's two places we need to remove roadblocks. One, and maybe most importantly, is within our own mind, within our own processes. No, we can't do that. No, our dealership has never done it that way. No, that seems crazy, right? Getting over it ourselves first. Because the second thing, and probably the more important thing, is that our clients see the roadblocks. That's why going to a car dealership is such a bummer for them, because they see the roadblocks. They're like, I don't understand why this is not easier. Last time you and I were together, Tim, we talked a lot about that, right? What is it that is training the clients outside of automotive to bring those expectations to us? It's places like Nordstrom. It's places like Starbucks. It's places like the Ritz-Carlton. Gosh, those places I do business there, and it's so easy. So they come to us seeing those roadblocks. So if we don't identify them and try to remove them, the client experience is always going to be status quo, because a client, sales or service, is going to come to us and think, I know this can be easier. and it's not. Why aren't they doing anything? So, so much of this book talks about that. And again, we have to, what did you say, Tim, yesterday? Check up from the neck up. I love that.
Yeah.
We have to think about changing our own mind first. And that seems a little touchy-feely, but if we can't grasp why the change is important and why we should do it, we're never going to remove the roadblocks in our own thinking. And therefore our clients are just going to always see them and think, gosh, what is it? 50 years of time, the automotive industry is still the same. I don't get it. Everything around it is changing and they're not. So that's where that dissatisfaction of client experience comes from, I think, because our clients know what we know, which is it can be easier. We just have to work harder to find the ways.
I would say two things. If I was put back behind the desk now, there's two things that I think I would start with. And number one is I would talk to my customers that just bought a car, right? I would talk to my customers and say, listen, and I know it might be weird because we're face to face. Thank you so much for buying from ABC Toyota or ABC Lexus or whatever it was. Listen, nobody's going to get, what could we have done better? What in the experience? Ask them, what could we have done better? And then I want to ask you, because most of your customers, as you guys and gals know, start online. I would as a GM, or whatever my role is on the dealership, the first thing I would do before I started interviewing customers is I would try to buy a car or get as much information about buying that car online before I ever even picked up the phone, before I ever even had a chat or a text to see how that experience. That exercise alone will tell you, unfortunately, listen, desk manager, sales manager, BDC manager, whoever's listening right now, call when Tim, hopefully not now, when Tim Talks is over, call your own dealership. This is how you inspect what you expect. Call your own dealership. Block your number, call your dealership so they don't know who you are, and ask for sales and see what happens. Better yet, my friends, ask to service your vehicle, which, by the way, I've seen, I've looked at those financial statements. When that was my job, I've looked at those financial statements. I know that the dealer principal makes 70 cents on the dollar in the service department, but yet every time somebody calls, it's service, please hold. Your service advisor's with somebody. Things like this isn't a car now show, but automating that process with AI, making it seamless, allowing them to schedule that oil change, tire rotation, 30,000 mile service without ever even talking to a service advisor, those types of things. So number one, interview your customers. Even more than that, interview your people. That is probably one of the most powerful things you can do. Let your people know that you are there to serve them. One of the greatest things that Gary Vee, I listen to him, most of you probably listen to Gary Vee. Man, your people, you serve. If boss is on your business card in any way, you serve your people, you serve your salesman, you serve the receptionist, which, by the way, is the face and voice of your dealership, and you need to make sure that you love on him or her. But talk to your people, encourage your people, interview your customers, constantly reviewing game film. That's what we do. That's why when we break out on Monday after the Sunday game, wide receivers are in one room, quarterbacks are in another room, offense and defense, they're all in different rooms. Why? So they can unpack exactly what they did right, exactly what they did wrong. And I'm seeing some of the names here. I know that there's some general managers on this call and on this Zoom that do exactly that. And that is why they are exceeding in their PMA. But again, enough is never enough. Constantly trying to get better and be the catalyst, not only of your PMA, but dadgummit, just being a good person all the way around. Dadgummit, that's a Kentucky word. You can write that down. That's okay. But I love it. I know you're out in California. Margaret, you don't get a lot of Kentucky words in California, but I'm here to give them to you with some meat and taters so we can take home and cook vittles, as we say. So I will let you that. As we start winding down, give us a couple things, actionable ideas as we wrap this into our process, talking about, look, we've talked about, not changing, not inspecting, not talking to our customers, not looking at our process, all those type of things. What are some things that we can take home right now and cook dinner that you really want to leave with the listeners?
Well, it's funny that you said that. And I did say I wasn't a football fan. I want to back that statement up by saying I do live in San Diego and our football team left and they went to Los Angeles, and I understand Los Angeles.
It's only an hour drive.
I know it's not far, but they burned a bridge, which is what I'm going to talk about in just a minute.
We need to talk about burning bridges.
Yes, we're going to talk about that, which is why I made that segue. But I will use your football analogy, Tim, blocking and tackling, right? I am a coach's wife. My husband's a high school athletic director. So I think one nugget I can give you is go back and review the basics, blocking and tackling, break it down into departments, right? It's not the wide receivers and the quarterback, it's your service team, it's your sales team. Go back and talk about those basic things that are so important, because I think, again, from like a Nordstrom or a hospitality perspective, what is the first impression that you're giving someone of your dealership? And Tim, in the business at Nordstrom, we would call that mystery shopping or secret shopping. We would constantly go to our competitors' stores and see what was going on. Walking into Bloomingdale's, do they greet me? Do they talk to me? Do they offer me the basics, right? The blocking and tackling. And because if we can't get those things right, it's harder to get the more complex things right. Our luxury clients, our clients are used to those experiences. One thing I always tell people is, do you walk into a luxury hotel and hear paging?
Nope.
People being paged? Never.
Nope.
And most dealerships don't do it anymore either. Why? Because we have a better way, right? The inaction would have been, oh, it's fine. We'll just page. It's fine. It's worked for years. It's fine. Gosh, we have cell phones. We have ways to connect with people in the dealership and tell them that they have a guest waiting. There's better ways. So go back and look at all the things, the basic things in your dealership. Even if your dealership's highly functioning, there's got to be things that you can tighten up. So that would be one, sort of blocking and tackling would be one. And the other thing that you and I talked about yesterday, which I definitely want to mention, is this idea of burning bridges. And I'm not a linguist. I was an English major, but I don't, break down grammar for a living. But this book talks about the concept of burning bridges, the phrase burning bridges. And we always think about that as a bad thing, right? You would never want to burn bridges with someone. You would never want to hurt their feelings so bad that they never never wanted to talk to you again, right? From a personal standpoint, none of us think burning bridges is a good idea. But the book reframes it. And the idea is the phrase came from the military. If I was walking into battle and I walked across the bridge, if the bridge was burned behind me, what happens? I have no choice but to go forward. So I'm not suggesting going and burning things, right? Literal things. But the idea is, think of that as a powerful metaphor in your head. Are you working so hard to change things that you feel like you have burned bridges, that you have not given your team or yourself the opportunity to go backwards? That if you could turn around and do it the old way, you've changed things so drastically that that's not even possible, right? That's not even possible. Because inaction, right, has to be taken off the table. Our choice to do nothing is no longer a choice. So the burning bridges analogy just heightens that, because it visualizes it for us, right? If we could only go forward because there was no going backwards, what type of choices would we be making in our dealership to heighten the client experience? And some of those things are easy. And Tim, I think you've mentioned it before too. It's not about spending a bunch of money. You don't have to. It's not about reorganizing everything in your dealership. It's thinking about it through the eyes of the client. What are they expecting? What roadblocks can we remove for them? It's hard work because it makes us look at ourselves and the processes that maybe we've become complacent about. But in the end, it's going to benefit us because the client is going to be happier. And that's at the end of the day what we want. Happy clients, happy dealership employees, happy everyone. Because I think sales just naturally increase from there. No one goes to Nordstrom, like I said, because it has different stuff. They go to Nordstrom because of how it makes them feel.
I love it. I love it. Something that you said there, I want to give you a personal example. I'm not going to use the dealership's name. But I am privy to, there was an underperforming, it was a Lexus store, underperforming Lexus store. A friend of mine took it over, and something unique that he did, not only did he inspect what he expected on a daily basis, but, he said, Tim, my parts manager has been in the car business 40 years. almost over 30 years. I'm sorry. It was between 30, 35 years. And I knew his parts manager. His parts manager worked with me at a Toyota store 25 years ago. I'm not making this up. But he would have those as I broke down, you know, wide receiver room, offensive line, quarterback room, running back room. He would have individual meetings with his different departments. But what he started to do was he started to share collectively the financial statement on what each department was doing and how, because there's this, you know, maybe listen, I'm preaching to somebody right now, and you know this, there is a conflict between your service department and your sales department. Don't even lie to me. I know it's there. You know, the service department, salespeople always promising things. Sales department, I've got to get these cars PDI'd. Service doesn't do anything. And there's that dysfunctional disconnect. But what he did was, although he coached them separately, what happens with Belichick and all other coaches is they bring them into the main room all together. And that parts manager that had no idea several years ago what PVR was, per vehicle retail, had no idea what rate reserve was, how much rate retention we're making, had no idea what money factors and all this, he's been in the car business 30 years, but what happened was he took a dealership that was nearly losing money, and I'm not going to tell you, but very, let's just put it there, very, very profitable, because he took the time to change the process and invest in his people and let the parts manager and the service pull for each other instead of rooting against each other. So I just wanted to share that with you. Listen, I'm so excited. This is not going to be the last time that we talk. I do have an announcement. Any closing thoughts? I've got 2 announcements to make, but I'm going to give you the final Tim Talk word before we make our announcements.
Well, first of all, it's been my pleasure to be here, and it's awesome to have these conversations. And I think, honestly, Tim, what you did with the contest and actually having people win something where they can experience luxury is a great closing thought. I think we need to know what it feels like. And luxury doesn't mean price point. Luxury means experience. Go out and be a connoisseur of experiences, right? And that, you know, hey, treat yourself to a nice vacation, whatever that means. But I think the more we look at the experiences we're offered and break them down and see what little nuggets we can use back at the dealership and learn from the good and the bad, the better we are when we take those experiences in and think, hey, what's usable, what's not, we're going to be able to offer better experiences to the people that we serve. And it is about serving. It really is. Like we don't have businesses if we don't have clients. So learn what it means to be a client ourselves, experience it, and offer those same awesome experiences to other people. So
awesome. And today, first little announcement is I'm gonna capture my inner Oprah. Everybody listening today, if you will email timtalks@carnow.com, timtalks@carnow.com, we will send you your very own copy of the Catalyst book. So we are going to, there you go. We are going to send it directly to you as we all strive to get better together. It's a great read. I have not read it yet. I got the Cliff Notes, obviously, from Margaret, as you did as well. So we are going to give away all those books, whoever emails timtalks@carnow.com. Now, without further ado, we are giving away, when Margaret was on here 4 or 5 weeks ago, we said, you know what, screw it. We are going to give away a luxury experience. This luxury, don't give me the winner yet. Don't give me the winner yet. Don't give me the winner yet. Let me build this up, Holly Ann. So I'm so excited to announce this winner. And just so you know, this is, I dare you to audit me because we'll be fine. We had over 600 of you register for Tim Talks, and we've bought software that randomly picks a name. So this isn't, hey, I like this person, or I like that person, or no, I don't like this person. They don't use our, all of that junk went out the window. So we did randomly pick, and this winner is a winner of a hotel of their choice. I don't care where it is, as long as it's in the continental United States and they can get there. Hotel of your choice and a $200 dinner gift card, either at the hotel or a restaurant of their choosing. So without further ado, let's announce the winner is... Da-da-da-da. I have no drum roll. I probably needed a cool sound effect, but you can go ahead and throw it up on the screen. Brian Kramer. Brian Kramer is the winner from the Germain Auto Group. I know some of you that know of Brian, tell him congrats. Jerry Kilway, who's their digital manager, who I know my team knows, Jared so lovingly just refers to him as Kramer. So we are so happy, Brian, to give you a little bit of luxury. We know you work your rear end off. We know the reputation of your store is someone that doesn't sit on its rear end, that continues to get better. So we just want to say thank you. Stay tuned to Tim Talks. We're going to continue to give away more prizes, hopefully in the next weeks to come. Make sure, and by the way, Brian, since you're listening, Holly Ann will be reaching out to you with all the details. I know you, we're connected, but just reach out. We'll make sure you're squared away and figure out what time you want to go, what weekend you want to go, so on and so forth. And please, if you want this book, please email us at timtalks@carnow.com. We are going to be giving away the Catalyst book, How to Change Anyone's Mind. With that, we're wrapping up another Tim Talks. Guys, we thank you so much for pouring into Tim Talks and allowing it to continue to grow each and every week. Margaret, I just want to thank you for being such an amazing guest, for spurring change. As we always, no one is smarter than everyone, and let's continue to get better together. God bless you guys. We are going to see you next week, Tuesday on Tim Talks. Have a great week. We'll see you then.